Okay, let's look at this here. For those of you who know how to drive a stick shift, if you're old enough, you'll remember a thing that was called a 3 on the tree. For those of you that don't, you know how you got your shifter on the floor for a manual? Okay, well, they used to put them on the steering column. That way, they said, well, you wouldn't have to take your hands far from the wheel because you would shift right on the steering column. Like this. You see? So just instead of putting the gear, you had to actually shift on the column. They called it a 3 on the tree. Just like it says here, 3 on the tree. But what's interesting is, it's just another scam where they're getting you to worship or to give continual remembrance to you-know-who, to Saturn. So let's take a look and see, you know, where you'll find 3 on the tree. Here it is right here. That's 3 on the Kabbalistic tree. You see how they sneak that stuff in? There's 3 on the Kabbalistic tree. And so they call this the 3 on the tree. Now, why would they call the steering column a tree? It's not. It's never referred to as that. They called it that because these guys know what this is. They know the truth. You can't design anything. The design's already done long before it gets here. You can't reinvent the wheel. It is what it is because that's where it came from there here. All right, so the 3 on the tree is this right here. But they always are sneaking that shit in when they use like phrases like for the time being. Well, who's the time being? Saturn is, right? He's got a time and space. Or when people say, well, it's about time. Well, of course it's about time because it's all about 3 on the tree, ain't it? You know, all of them gang symbols where dudes are throwing 3 up. What the fuck you think that's in reference to? Or you got you guys wearing, what, you know, the young kids, they wear their hats at a 30. Well, the 0 is nothing. So they're wearing it at a 3. Right? All of this stuff. The Crips and the Bloods, red and blue. Come on, guys. It's not that hard to figure out. I'm going to tell you about a dream I had a long time ago. Way back when I was in my 20s. I must have been 23. Yeah, I must have been about 23. 24. Nah, I wasn't even 24. Maybe 22. I don't even like to say 23. But anyway, I was in a house. And this is why this dream is important. I was in a house, and there were construction workers in the inside of the house. And there was sawdust on the floor. There was no carpeting. There was plywood. And they were all leaving. And when the last guy was on his way out, I said, isn't anybody going to stay? And they said, don't worry, we'll send somebody back. Okay? That guy went out, and the house had a creepy feeling to it. That guy went out, and I was in the house by myself, and I started hearing this weird type of language, which I can't describe. The closest thing I could see would be somebody talking in tongues, if you've ever seen that. So I went to the door, and the door had a square. What a surprise! But it was at an angle, so it made a diamond shaped. And I looked out the door, out the window, and you know I'm always talking about redheads. Well, more than that. There were 2 guys on either side of it. It was a small porch that you would walk up 2 or 3 steps, and then you had the iron railing on the side so you wouldn't fall off. And there was a guy on either side, like the pillars, right? And their hair wasn't red, their hair was fire. Okay, now these guys were talking to each other in a language I don't even know what it is. And as they were talking, they kept on talking, but they both turned to me exactly at the same time. And as they were talking, all of a sudden I woke up, and I was in bed, and there was something at the end of my bed. I've never seen nothing like it since. It scared me so bad that I couldn't scream. And it seemed like a long time, but it was probably only a fraction of a second. And when I woke up, that thing was talking to me in the same language that them 2 guys was. Okay? There are other dimensions. There is definitely something else going on here. Okay? And that really freaked me out because you wouldn't think that you could be so scared you couldn't scream. Trust me, you can. And whatever that thing was talking, and I didn't get it, but that thing was extremely freaking weird. And so, about a week or two later, I had a dream that there was this triangle thing spinning, and it wasn't talking to me in words. It was saying something, but it was like a definite, like I need to do something. Very, very, I need to do something. I don't know. I don't even know how to explain this to you guys. The only reason I'm bringing it up is there's a reason why I see this stuff. You know, I was raised a Lutheran. My faith has always been in Jesus, but I see the Bible completely different than when I used to, because now I see how we've been misled and kept away from certain things. So I'm not here to change anybody's mind about that. That's for each man to make his own decision, not based on what I'm showing you, but based on what you choose to accept. I'm just telling you, it was ever at the end of my bed, and it wasn't a big thing. It was probably maybe 4 feet tall, but it was wide, and it was a real dull greenish looking thing, and it wasn't, I don't know, but whatever language was talking, it wasn't human, that's for sure. And then it was gone. When I screamed, it left. It was gone, just gone. I never had that since, but I'm telling you, just for your own information, there's other things going on here. So in case you're just thinking that stuff don't exist, it does exist. So I'm just throwing it out there. I don't put that story out much because it was such a weird freaking dream. I don't even know how to explain it. You know, so that's not the reason I always bring up the redheads, but those guys' hair weren't red, it was fire. So, you know, whatever. You can try and pick that dream apart however you want to. But when those guys were talking and they looked at me, and then I sat up and that thing was at the end of my bed talking to me in the same language, I don't know what the fuck that was. I ain't interested in ever seeing that again, because that thing would scare the shit out of anybody on this planet. I don't give a fuck how tough you think you are. That thing at 4 feet tall would scare you to death. And that's a fact. So that's it. So I just thought I'd show you, you know, how they bring things in and slip them in so that you're always talking about you know who. So here's your 3 on the tree. There it is right there. A 3-speed column shifter, can be known as 3 on the tree. And here it is here, 3 on the tree.